And so when she's retired and everything, she can live there. And I made it handicap accessible, and so, or made the doorways like 36 inches wide for a wheelchair if she needs to have it when she's older, and all that stuff. So she'll be able to move in there, and I'll be able to take care of her when she gets to the point where she needs it. So hopefully she won't ever need it, but we shall see. If she does, I'll take care of her. But anyway, so that's my mom. So yesterday was her birthday, and that's why I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Also, I've been going around Spreaker today and listening to different people's shows, and actually finding a few that were pretty good and interesting, and actually pretty entertaining shows on here that I was actually happy to find, because they were very well produced shows, actually sounding very professional and extremely entertaining. And some people that I know were on some of them. And of course, there was one person that's had a show today that that I won't be naming because I can't stand them. But it's funny because I feel like, how do I say this? Have you ever known people who are, I've known in my past people, when I was growing up in my teen years or whatever, and my 20s and 30s, and even up until recently, that were very fake. And I find fake people confounding because, and I've said this on my show before, on my BTR show, but I'll say it on the Spreaker show, people who, pretend to be something that they're not, always confound me. And when you're on the internet, you find and run into that a great deal, because the internet lends itself to being someone else, or to not being yourself. It's easy to pretend to be something you're not. And so I understand that to some degree that's part of something you kind of get with the internet, But, it's like that show Catfish that, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the show, but it's on MTV. And it's with this guy, Neve, and his best friend, Max, and they go around the country, and they do a documentary each show, basically, about someone's experience with someone they have a romantic relationship with online. And, the majority of the time, the person turns out to not look the way they said, or not be the person they said. Sometimes they've been a man and not a woman, or vice versa. So, the internet is the wild, wild west in a lot of ways, because it just... anything goes, and people can do whatever the fuck they want, and so it's somewhat frightening that people. Because what I'm trying to get at is people that are attracted to the internet. Not everyone that is, but I'm saying a lot of people who are attracted to the internet are attracted to it for that purpose, for that reason, because they understand that it allows them to be something else. And most people who are like that essentially are that way because they themselves are insecure, and they have a very deep insecurity. And all of us are insecure in some manner, one way or another. No one is so completely well-adjusted that there's nothing about themselves that they're not insecure about. Everyone has insecurities, everybody, whether it's physical or mental or emotional or financial or whatever. Everyone has insecurities. So I don't begrudge people that, but the difference for me comes in when there are people who are pretending to be something they're not, and when they're actually called out on it and actually it's brought to light, they still pretend to be something they're not, and they hold on to that. And so I find that to be basically pathological. So a person like that is, I consider, a pathological liar, and someone who essentially can't is devoid of reality to some degree. They've lost touch with reality. And I find it to be a very sad thing, because people like that are always lonely and alone to some degree, because they are not allowing themselves to be seen for who and what they are, whether it's physical appearance or financial prowess or mental ability or competency or whatever the case is. They're not allowing themselves to be seen for who and what they are. Therefore, they can never be loved for who and what they are. And to me, the most important thing in life is to be loved and to love someone else. That's the entire reason for living in my book. many people would disagree with me that the purpose of living or life is to make money or get ahead or be competitive or to be beautiful or be famous or whatever. And I've never felt that way. To me, being alive or the purpose of life is to love and to be loved. And people who are not able to allow themselves to be themselves are not able to be loved. And so it's really a sad, tragic thing. But, it is essentially part of the internet. And when I was a kid and I was on the internet, and I've said this before, I've been on the internet forever, since 1989 or maybe 88. Before the internet existed, I was on BBS's. I was on one of the first quote-unquote internet sites called Prodigy, and where you actually had a disc they sent to you in the mail, and you would log on to their proprietary internet site and chat with people or whatever. So it was my escape, and it was my way of actually, getting to know people. And I was shy to some degree because I knew I was gay, and it was not easy for me to make friends then. And it's still not easy for me to make friends because I expect a lot from them. But it was a way for me to have a social life when I was very young and shy. Even though I had friends at school and friends outside of school, it was a way to make new friends that way. So, when I was on there, I would be one myself, and people would begin talking to me or whatever. And then I would meet people a lot of times, and they wouldn't be anything like they said they were. So I knew then, the beginning of it, that it was not a place you can really trust what you see on the screen. And you get comfortable on the internet to the point where you're like, wow, I just want, you make friendships or whatever, and you think they're real, and a lot of times they turn out not to be real, or they turn out to be fake or whatever. And that's hurtful and harmful, because most people who are like myself really do foster friendships and relationships this way, and they really do want to be friends with people and take their online friendships and relationships seriously. So you've got to find someone who feels the same way. And if you don't, you're going to be, in trouble, and you're going to be hurt in the end. So my advice to people is, use caution when you're on the internet, and use caution when you're meeting people, whether it's on Spreaker or Blog Talk Radio or Facebook or, wherever you meet people on the internet. Be careful. And don't expect too much in the beginning. And if it turns into something real, whether it's a real relationship romantically or a friendship, great. But if it doesn't that way, if you don't expect too much, you won't be disappointed in the end. So I just wanted to say a little bit about that as well. So this is the Randomness Show, and we're talking about random topics. And I was reading a thing on Facebook. Anyway, and I was talking to my friend Callie today. I was checking in with her. I called her last week or earlier in the week at something, and I missed her. But I miss talking to her. We talked a lot on my show as well as off the show occasionally. Off the show as well. And we talked a lot, and I kind of helped her with her problems. And she was young, in her early 20s, and trying to help her navigate life, trying to help her figure out life, and that was going to get better. And just giving her some general advice on life, And I wish when I was in my 20s, I had somebody to really do that for me. I mean, my mom did, my grandmother did, whatever. But when you're in your early 20s, you don't listen to your parents. You don't listen to your relatives because you think, oh, you don't know anything, right? So if I'd had someone to sort of mentor me through life when I was that age, it would have been great. Because I would have known more what to expect and not have expected everything to be so perfect, perfection, as I did when I was that age. I really expected everything to be just go along smoothly and easily, and all I had to do was do the right things and say the right things and be in the right places at the right time, and everything would fall easily into place. And unfortunately, life is not like that. Life is a fucking roller coaster ride, and it is up, it is down, it is all around. It is never something that you can predict. The moment you feel like you can predict your life, where it's going to go, where it's headed, something throws a wrench into your plans and everything turns around. And, some people look at that as a negative thing, as if that's a bad thing. And I don't think it necessarily is. I mean, it definitely keeps us on our toes. Life is something that is random, just like this show. It's random. It's not, and some people disagree with me. Some people think that living is predestined or preordained, your destiny or whatever. And I don't agree with that at all. I think living our lives are in our own hands. I really do think that and feel that way, because most of life is something that you yourself have created. It's not something that has happened to you. A lot of people would disagree with that because they feel like, oh no, there's plenty of things that have happened to me that have no fault of my own or whatever. And that's true. There are things that are happening to people all the time that are no fault of their own. I agree that there are some things that you cannot control. But there's a great deal about life that you can control. There's a great deal about life that you can actually determine for yourself. If you want to, what you want to do with your life, who you want to marry, who you want to be with, who you're friends with, all of those things are decisions that you yourself make. And as a result of those decisions, your life is affected by them. Those decisions that you make absolutely affect your life. And so that's what I mean by your decisions. The decision you make, the decisions you make in life are your own. And people often feel like it's just somewhat of a random thing, but I don't agree with that. There's things like, for example, in my life where I have thought, I'm going to plan this A, B, C. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. And while I'm doing this and that, before I get to the last part of it, I figure something else happens to me, and it makes me realize that, I didn't want to do that in the first place, or I really, really want to do this, or whatever. So to me, life is more like a connective, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you don't have all the pieces necessarily at the beginning. And as you get older, the beginning of your life, you get the edges of your life. That's just how I look at it. You get the edges of the jigsaw puzzle, and so you kind of have an outline of what you want to do or accomplish, and you think you know what it's going to look like, right? And then as you put the pieces in, as you grow older, as you begin to get older, as you begin to grow and actually evolve as a human being, you begin to realize the picture is looking different than you initially thought it was going to look. The jigsaw puzzle, the final picture, is looking different with every piece. And so you don't know how the actual final picture is going to look until you die. You don't know until you get to the very end of the jigsaw puzzle what it's going to look like and what that picture is going to be. So that's the way I look at life. It is completely not up. Well, not completely. It's very much of it. A lot of it's not up to you. A lot of it is just really up to the decisions you make as you go. So a lot of people, don't look at it that way. But I really feel life is like a jigsaw puzzle. That's my little metaphor anyway. I just made up right there and just wanted to kind of to help explain the way I feel about it. So I'm going to play a song real quick and come back and talk some more. If I can find the song I was going to play, let me see if it's in here. I just uploaded it a minute ago. Let's see. Is there a way to search in here? I think there is. This song is actually an excellent representation of what I was just speaking about. If I can find the song, I know it's in here. Well, maybe it's not. Let's go back and see if it's there. I uploaded it. It says your media is ready. So let's see if it's there. Let's search for it. No. Huh. I'll type it in one more time and see if I can find it. Because this song has a really great message to it, and there it is. Okay, I found it. So this song has a really great message to it, and it really does tell, essentially what I was saying to some degree, that life really is in your own hands, and that life really is what you make of it. So I'll be right back after this.
Things haven't been the same since you came into my life. You